All right, this lesson is on solving quadratic equations. The example 1 says, find the roots of the equation by factoring. So we're going to go ahead and set the function equal to 0. Then we're going to go ahead and factor it. And this we can factor by the difference of two squares. We can write 169 as a perfect square, so 13 times 13. And then x squared is x times x. So then we factor it using our difference of two squares. So we're going to get 13 minus x, and then 13 plus x. So again, that's the difference of two squares. Then we go ahead and set each factor equal to 0, which is called the zero product property. And then we solve them separately for x. So we're going to add x to both sides. And then we're going to subtract 13 from both sides. So the two answers are negative 13 and positive 13. Example 2, again, solve by factoring. So we're going to set the function equal to 0. This equation has a greatest common factor of 2. So we go ahead and factor out the 2, and we're left with 25x squared minus 16. Again, this is factoring by GCF. Then we can go ahead and factor the parentheses by the difference of two squares. We have two perfect squares. So we're going to have 5x minus 4, and then 5x plus 4. And then don't forget that GCF outside. Now we'll go ahead and use our zero product property. We set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. Don't worry about the 2, because when we set 2 equal to 0, we're not going to get a solution or root there. We only get it with the two parentheses. So again, use our zero product property, 5x minus 4 equal to 0, and then 5x plus 4 equal to 0. Add 4 to both sides. And then divide both sides by 5. So our first root is 4/5. Go to the second equation and solve it. So subtract 4 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 5. So x is negative 4/5. So our two solutions are negative 4/5 and positive 4/5. Another one, we're going to set the function equal to 0. This equation can first be factored by GCF, so we're going to divide out a 2 from all of the terms. So we're left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. So that's factoring by GCF. Then we look inside of the parentheses. We can factor the quadratic x squared plus 5x plus 6 by setting up a chart, and we say what are the factors of AC, so the factors of 6 that add to 5. So the factors of 6 are positive 3 and positive 2. 3 times 2 is 6. When I add them, I get 5. So now my parentheses are going to be the sides of the diamond with that x. Don't forget the 2 out in front. Now we set the factors equal to 0 and solve for x. We get x plus 3 equals 0, and then x plus 2 equals 0. Now we solve them for x. We subtract 3. We get x is negative 3. We subtract 2. We get x is negative 2. Here's another one. We're going to go ahead and set the function equal to 0 and then factor it. We're going to set up our diamond. What are the factors of AC? So that's 11 on the top of the diamond. That adds to B, 12. Sides of the diamond are going to be positive 11 and positive 1. 11 times 1 is 11. When I add them together, I get 12. So now in factored form, I get 2 binomials, x plus 11, x plus 1. Remember, the sides of the diamond make up your pieces to your binomial. Now we use our zero product property. We set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. Subtract 11 from both sides. We get negative 11. Subtract 1 from both sides. And we get negative 1. So our two roots are negative 11 and negative 1. Example 5. Set the function equal to 0. Now again, just like the last problem, we can set up our diamond. The top of the diamond is our factors of AC that add to B. So we get negative 7 and positive 5. When I multiply those numbers together, I get negative 35. When I add them, I get negative 2. So now we set up our 2 binomials. And then we use our zero product property. Set each factor equal to 0 and then solve for x. So the first equation, we add 7 to both sides. Second equation, subtract 5 from both sides. So our two answers are negative 5 and positive 7. These last two examples are a little different than the ones that we've just been working with because our A is greater than 1. So we have to do the diamond in box when we factor. So again, our A is greater than 1 or not 1. So we start off just like before. We set the function equal to 0. Then we set up our diamond. The top of the diamond is our AC. The bottom of the diamond is our B. So what are the multipliers of negative 6 that add to negative 5, which are negative 6 and positive 1? Now we set up our box. The upper left corner is our x squared term. The bottom right is our constant. So again, upper left, bottom right. And then the sides of the diamond make up our other two terms with an x. Now we go ahead and take out all the GCFs. So we start with the first column. The GCF would be 2x. The GCF of the second column could be a +1 or -1. First row, the GCF will be x. The second row, -3. Now make sure you check, multiply the two terms together, the blue terms, to see that you get the green and pink terms. So now our two factors are what's outside the boxes. And now we can use our zero product property. So 2x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 2. So the first root is -1/2. The second root, set the factor equal to 0, and then solve for x. Then we get 3. So our two answers are -1/2 and +3. Here's our last example. If you feel that you understand the factoring when the a is not 1, so again, this is another one where a doesn't equal 1, it's greater than 1, we have to do the diamond and box. So if you wanted to stop here, you could. So we set up our diamond. The top of the diamond is our AC, so 2 times 21 is 42. The bottom of our diamond is our B, 17. Now we say, what are the multipliers of 42 that add to 17? And that is +3 and +14. Now we set up our box. The upper left is going to be our 2x squared. The bottom right will be our C, 21. Then our sides of our diamond make up our other two terms with the variable x. Now we take out the GCFs of the rows and columns. So the first column, the GCF is x. The second column, the GCF is 7. First row, the GCF is 2x. Second row, the GCF is +3. And now check, multiply the terms together. So 2x and x becomes 2x squared. 2x and 7 becomes 14x. 3 and x becomes 3x. 3 and 7 become 21. So what's outside the boxes make up your factors. Now we use our zero product property. We set the factors equal to 0 and solve for x. So the first one, subtract 7 from both sides. And we get -7. Second one, set 2x plus 3 equal to 0 and solve for x. So subtract 3 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 2. So we had x to be -3/2. So our two answers, the two roots are -7 and -3/2.